Have you ever heard laughter where there was no one around? A distant echo in the woods, a whisper of applause carried by the wind? Some say there's a circus that appears when the night is at its darkest, a place where the audience never leaves and the performers never stop. But if you hear the laughter, don't follow it, because once you step inside, the show never ends. If this story interests you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tell us about your stories and where you are watching from. The first time Ethan heard the laughter, he thought it was a trick of the wind. A faint chuckle, carried from somewhere deep in the woods, where no one was supposed to be. It was late, past midnight, when the sound first reached his ears. At first it was easy to dismiss. The mind plays tricks in the dark. But then it came again. Louder, closer. By morning, the rumors had already spread. "There's a circus in the woods," said Sam, scrolling through a local forum on his phone. "No one knows how it got there." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Bullshit." "No, really," Sam insisted. "Some kids said they heard music and laughter coming from inside, but when they went back the next day, it was like the tent had disappeared." Marcus snorted. "Oh yeah? Then how do we know it's even real?" Sam turned the screen toward them. A grainy photo showed a massive striped circus tent, nestled between the trees. The colors, red and white, looked almost too vibrant against the darkness of the forest. At the bottom of the post, a single comment stood out: "Do not enter." "They're waiting." That evening, curiosity won. The four of them, Ethan, Sam, Lily, and Marcus, set out toward the forest. As they walked, the trees grew denser, the air heavier. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the silence became. Then, without warning, the scent of something sweet filled the air. Not the fresh, buttery smell of carnival food, but something thicker, like old, stale cotton candy left out too long in the sun. And then they saw it. The tent was real. It stood impossibly tall between the trees, its striped fabric looking brand new despite the eerie stillness around it. A large faded sign swayed above the entrance: "Welcome to the greatest show on earth." A single ticket booth stood in front of the entrance, though no one was inside. A small stack of red and gold tickets lay on the counter. Marcus grinned, grabbing one. "Guess it's free admission." A faint chuckle echoed from inside the tent. Ethan felt his stomach twist. "Maybe this isn't a good idea," he said. Sam scoffed. "What, you scared?" Before Ethan could answer, Lily pushed past them, parting the entrance flaps. Inside, the glow of warm, golden lights bathed the circus ring. A crowd sat in perfect formation, their backs straight, their heads slightly tilted toward the stage. None of them moved. Then, as if sensing their presence, a spotlight flickered on, illuminating a figure at the center of the ring. A clown stood there, tall and thin, his painted smile stretching too wide. His head snapped toward them, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. With an elegant bow, he gestured toward the audience. That's when they noticed. The spectators weren't moving. They weren't even breathing. Their faces were frozen in grins. Their mouths stretched unnaturally wide, as if caught in the middle of a laugh they could never finish. And then, the clown spoke. "Welcome, dear guests," he purred. "The show is just beginning." The tent flaps behind them snap shut, and the laughter swells to a deafening roar. The laughter swelled like a living thing, curling around them, seeping into their bones. Ethan spun toward the entrance, but the flaps were gone. Nothing but endless red and white stripes stretched behind them, as if the tent had swallowed the door hole. Sam stepped forward, scanning the frozen audience. Their grins were grotesque, mouths stretched wide, eyes glassy. They weren't just watching the performance. They were trapped in it. "Okay. This is messed up," Lily muttered, inching backward. Before anyone could respond, the spotlight snapped. On a deep booming voice echoed through the tent. "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the greatest show on earth." From the darkness, figures emerged. The first was a juggler, tossing knives with inhuman speed. The blades whirred through the air, moving in patterns too complex to follow. The second was a contortionist, twisting and snapping her limbs in ways that defied anatomy, her body bending so far backward that her head nearly touched the floor. And then came the clowns. A dozen of them, tall and thin, faces painted in exaggerated expressions. Some smiled, others scowled, but none of them blinked. A figure stepped into the light, a man in a tattered harlequin suit, his mask cracked down the middle. The ringmaster. "Tonight, we have a special treat." His voice slithered through the air. "A most extraordinary act, a performance unlike any other." A slow drum roll began. The spotlight swung toward the audience, toward them. "Step right up, dear guests," the ringmaster cooed. "The stage is yours." The clowns moved forward. Marcus is grabbed and pulled toward the center of the ring as the clowns begin painting his face, but the paint won't come off. His laughter starts, and he can't stop. Marcus's laughter was wrong. It wasn't joyful. It was strained, desperate, like something was forcing it out of him. His eyes widened in panic as the white paint seeped into his skin, spreading like ink in water. No matter how much he scrubbed at his face, the paint wouldn't budge. "Guys, help. Me!" His voice was breaking, but the laughter wouldn't stop. The ringmaster clapped, delighted. Oh, what spirit, what a performance. But there's still more to come. The clowns closed in, their smiles stretching too wide, their fingers twitching, like puppets on invisible strings. "Run!" Ethan yanked Sam and Lily back, breaking into a sprint. The audience remained motionless, their frozen grins watching, always watching. They raced behind the stage, past faded curtains and old, rotting props, until they found themselves in a corridor of mirrors. But something was off. The reflections weren't right. Lily stepped closer, her breath catching. The glass didn't show them as they were. It showed clown versions of themselves. Their faces grotesquely painted, their eyes hollow, their grins stitched into their skin. Sam touched one of the mirrors, and the world cracked. His mind reeled as visions flooded his skull. Twisted performers, once human, now nothing but playthings for the circus. The tent was alive, feeding off laughter, trapping souls within its cursed ring. This wasn't a show. It was a prison. "We have to get out of here," Ethan whispered. But behind them, a reflection moved on its own. Marcus, grinning unnaturally, his eyes empty. "Why would you want to leave?" he giggled. The Marcus in the mirror lunges forward, arms outstretched. But the real Marcus is nowhere to be seen. Marcus's reflection lunged, his painted face twisted into a grotesque grin. Ethan barely managed to pull Lily and Sam back before the mirror shattered, shards slicing through the air. But when they turned, Marcus was gone. "Where is he?" Lily's voice cracked. A distant giggle echoed through the hall of mirrors. "He's still here," Sam whispered. "But not with us." The mirrors shifted, their reflections distorting. The versions of themselves in the glass weren't copying their movements anymore. Instead, they watched, their grins stretching wider. Wider. Then, from behind one of the mirrors, something knocked. A muffled voice, Marcus's voice, came from inside the glass. "Guys, help me. It hurts." Ethan's breath turned to ice. The mirrors weren't showing reflections. They were showing prison cells. "We have to break them," Lily said. Sam hesitated. "And if that lets something else out?" Before Ethan could answer, a new voice whispered through the darkness. "You shouldn't have come here." They spun around, but there was no one there. Only shadows stretching unnaturally against the glowing circus lights. Then, the mirrors began to crack on their own. One by one, the distorted figures inside turned their heads, all at once, grinning at them. The mirror in front of Ethan shatters, completely, and from the darkness inside, a pale hand reaches out. The pale hand shot out from the broken mirror, its fingers long and bony, nails jagged like cracked porcelain. Ethan stumbled backward as more hands emerged from the shattered glass, clawing at the air, reaching for them. Then came the faces. Painted, grinning faces crawled out of the darkness, their eyes hollow, their lips twisted in grotesque, frozen smiles. Their laughter was a horrible, uneven sound like something choking on its own breath. "Run!" Sam shoved Lily forward, breaking into a sprint. The corridor of mirrors warped, the reflections moving on their own. The twisted versions of themselves mimicked their panic, but their movements were delayed like puppets waiting for strings to pull them. And then, one of the reflections stepped out of the glass. A warped version of Ethan emerged from the mirror, his smile unnaturally wide, his eyes too dark, too empty. He tilted his head, watching Ethan with an eerie curiosity before whispering, "You belong here now." The others followed, a grinning Sam, his teeth filed into sharp points. A giggling Lily, her painted lips twitching as if barely containing hysterics. They weren't reflections anymore, they were replacements. The real Marcus was gone, swallowed by the mirrors. And now, the circus was choosing new performers. "We have to find the exit," Lily screamed. But the mirrors kept stretching, the pathways twisting, leading them deeper into the maze. The walls shrank inward, suffocating, trapping them. And then, the lights flickered out. For a split second, there was nothing but silence. Then the laughter returned. Close, right behind them. A cold breath brushes against Ethan's ear as a voice whispers, "You're next." The laughter surrounded them, pressing against their skulls, wrapping around their throats like invisible hands. The air was thick, suffocating, as if the tent itself was breathing. Ethan spun around, his pulse hammering. In the dim, flickering light, the twisted copies of themselves stood just a few steps away, their faces stretching into monstrous grins. "Show's over," Lily hissed, grabbing a metal rod from the ground. With a sharp swing, she shattered a mirror. The shards rained, down, but the reflections didn't disappear. They only laughed harder. This wasn't a maze, it was a trap. Sam grabbed Ethan's arm. "We have to stop this, the ringmaster. He's controlling everything." Ethan's eyes darted around the warped carnival nightmare. The stage, the spotlight, the center of the ring. The show needs a main act, Ethan realized. We have to end it before we become part of it. They ran, dodging the grasping hands of the painted figures, their grotesque giggles echoing through the tent. As they burst onto the main stage, the audience of frozen spectators sat motionless, their eyes glistening in the dim light. And at the center under the single spotlight stood the ringmaster. "Leaving so soon?" he cooed, his mask cracking as he smiled wider. "The performance is eternal. And you?" He tilted his head. "You were meant to stay." Marcus stood beside him now, his face fully transformed, his skin painted white, his lips dyed in an unmovable red smile. "Marcus?" Ethan's voice broke. Marcus's painted eyes twitched, a flicker of something human buried deep inside. He reached for them, then froze, his fingers shaking. The ringmaster laughed, dark and deep. "Ah, but you see, dear guests, he belongs to us now." Ethan saw the whip coiled at the ringmaster's side. A prop, a tool, a symbol of control. If the circus was a performance, then the ringmaster was the conductor. Not for long. Ethan growled. He lunged forward, grabbing the whip. The ringmaster's eyes widened as Ethan cracked it against the stage. The entire tent shuddered, the fabric rippling like flesh. The audience twitched, then one by one they collapsed, their frozen smiles melting into nothingness. The mirrors shattered. The tent screamed. The walls peeled away, revealing the endless, dark forest beyond, and then the ringmaster began to laugh. "Well done," he whispered, his voice distorting. His body cracked, the seams splitting, revealing nothing but blackness underneath. The tent began to collapse. Ethan grabbed Marcus, pulling him away as the ringmaster dissolved into shadow, his final words slithering into the air. "The show must go on." They burst outside just as the entire circus imploded, the red and white fabric sucking inward until nothing remained but the empty, silent clearing. The night was still again. Marcus fell to his knees, gasping, rubbing at his face. The paint was gone. The frozen audience was gone. The tent was gone. Sam exhaled. "It's over." Lily didn't respond. Because behind them, somewhere deep in the forest, the faint echo of laughter still lingered. A single red and gold ticket flutters to the ground at Ethan's feet. On the back, in smeared ink, 4 names are written. His name is one of them. If you enjoyed this terrifying journey into the tent of lost laughter, don't forget to like, comment, and share with others who love horror. What did you think of the ending? Would you dare enter the tent? Let me know in the comments.